Welcome back to Chamber Exchange, the TV show. And again, want to thank our sponsors that make the show happen, Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital. And happy to have with us on our second segment, Maria Milagros, who is the owner and founder of the business known as Maria Milagros.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tim.
Yeah, so maybe you could share a little bit about your business and the services that you provide.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a personal growth and development keynote speaker. I do trainings, facilitation, workshops, and coaching, one-on-one and small group coaching. And really the premise of my work is to help people transform their stories so that they can transform their lives, essentially.
And so you mentioned training, that would be for companies and organizations?
Yeah, so recently I've been doing a lot of companies, their employees are experiencing burnout right now. A lot of employees are trying to figure out, how do I even create work-life balance? What does that even mean, right? So we're doing a lot of those types of trainings right now, a lot of communication trainings. There's a lot of interdisciplinary office things that are going on. So teaching people how to purposefully communicate with each other in ways that are really healthy, so not just develop relationships within office, but then with clients and even in their own families and at home. Because all of those relationships interconnect, you know? So then when we develop a skill in one arena, we are essentially developing that skill in all arenas, yeah.
So if you're a business owner or, you run an organization, what is it, the triggers, or how and why should they be saying, how do I incorporate this type of training, or should I be, or when do you realize that, or how would it be helpful? How do you get the word out, and what should, I guess, business owners or organizational leaders be mindful of?
Yeah, great question. So right now I'm getting a lot of word of mouth business, and what's happening is companies are realizing from their employees taking a lot of time off and just not being as productive as they used to be, or not being really efficient at work. Then they would call someone like me and say, hey, can you come in and run a PD or like a personal development day training? And we need our employees to learn more about work-life balance. We need them to learn more about actually taking care of themselves so that when they're at work, they're productive. We need them to learn those basic soft skills like communication skills and leadership skills and those other types of time management skills, so that while they're here, they're more productive, efficient, and they're getting along, right? We spend more waking hours at our job getting ready for, being at, and detoxing from our jobs than we do doing anything else in our entire lives. So people often go like, there's work here and then there's life here. No, honey, they're like this because you spend so much time at your job. So to develop those skills, for companies to invest in their employees to develop those skills, it not just benefits them as people, but then it benefits the entire company. It benefits how people interact. It benefits how they relate. And then the studies have shown that when our employees have these skills, the companies are more productive, they're more efficient, they're more effective, and they're more innovative. Because now you have room to be creative. Now you can talk to each other in a way that really unpacks what the hurdles are. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. We should put that into practice, right? So it helps companies elevate. And there was a time where soft skills were considered soft. So it's not something that people focused on. Now we're realizing, especially thanks to the pandemic, oh, there's a lot of things that we have to do as humans first before we can move forward as companies, as businesses. So if companies are finding that their employees are having hiccups in those places, you want to call me.
So, I think you answered my next question. So if there's a company or organization that just says, say, look, people come and go to work, and, we don't need that. We don't have time for that. I think what you've said, if a professional development day or sessions or programming during the course of the year is a good return on investment for a business or an organization, because your employees will be more productive.
Yes.
They'll be a better environment. They're more likely to come and work than take a mental health day or sick day. They'll be more profitable.
Yes.
So it is worth a leader of a business organization, an owner, to kind of think about how do you plan and incorporate PD and professional and personal development into a year-round work plan.
Absolutely. I remember hearing a quote, and I don't remember where it was from, but someone said, when you invest in people, you invest in profits, right? So it's like, take the time to invest in your employees first, and then from there, you're going to build profit. Right. That's just the way the maths, essentially, right?
The math.
Yeah.
But you mentioned COVID and clearly the impact that's had and continues to have in a variety of ways, but also generationally, the advent of social media, you can't help but hear in various work settings. And, we're blessed at the Chamber to work with 2,100 member businesses on a day-to-day basis, most of them small businesses. There are generational things, right? And the advent of social media has impacted how a younger workforce comes into a place of employment.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I go into companies and I do this work, we just call those things out, right? We talk about exactly what's the hurdle for you. So older generation people say, those kids are always on their phones. And the younger generation people say, how else do you connect to people and keep people coming through the door? And how both of those perspectives are necessary and important. But unless we're communicating, right, and unless we're having real conversation, trying to understand each other, we're not getting to the crux of the thing. So it's really important that companies learn how to carve out the time to actually communicate. And again, if their companies are finding that they're bumping up against each other, then that's something that needs to happen. There's so much to be gained from the younger generation, their creativity, their innovation, how they're moving in and out of spaces, and there's so much wisdom to gain from older generations. So to say one is better than the other, we're missing a huge chunk, right? So it's better to have these programmings that allow them to communicate, to build relationships, to learn how to do those things, work-life balance, deal with burnout, whatever it is that they're facing in a capacity, in a way that works and feels good for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's a business owner or organizational leader watching this and say, okay, I may be interested, or they've piqued my curiosity, you've done some TED Talks and a book and some videos where people could learn a little bit more if they wanted to utilize your services for their business or organization.
Yeah. So I have 2 books. One is Super Sparkly Everything. It's kind of a memoir, but what
was it?
Super Sparkly Everything.
Super Sparkly Everything.
Yeah.
That's
And my daughter actually named it, but it's very true to who I am. I don't necessarily wear sparkly things, but I'm always looking for the sparkle. Right, in life. And so I have that one, and I have a journal that is a self-love journal. It's about connecting back to ourselves, because I find that we are just collectively disconnected from ourselves. So then there's an expectation of other people to fill the gaps for us. And I don't think we're designed to be that. I think we have to figure out what it is that we need. And then if we can't, collectively, we're supposed to help each other, but not always needing and depending on outside of ourselves. So there's a journal that I have for that. Then I have 2 TED Talks, because I love stories and I'm such a storyteller. Even in my trainings and workshops, I do a lot of storytelling. And the first one is called What's Good About This? And it's really about taking tough situations and looking at them through a lens of gratitude and figuring out what's good so that you can manage the problem with a different perspective. And then the second one is about radical acceptance. And I tell a funny story about how I broke a zip drive. And it was scary because all my information, all my data, everything was on that little guy. And it was destroyed. And I had to radically accept that moment and what that was like. So that's the second TED Talk, and I'm really proud of those. And I also have YouTube videos that I've posted. There's so many, I can't even, a couple of hundred maybe. So people can find those on YouTube. But really, if they want to get in contact with me, if they want to get any of my materials, they should go to my website.
Which is?
www.mariamilagros.net.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the YouTube. How does someone access the YouTube?
Right, from my website.
Off your website.
Yeah, so
okay.
Everything is accessible from the website. You go to the website, scroll to the bottom, all the socials are there.
Right.
So then they can find me on YouTube too.
And so you've used the word storyteller a few different times and talk about you help people tell stories. It's important for businesses, right, and organizations to tell their story, to differentiate themselves, to let people know. Maybe a title doesn't always detail the goods or services that an organization provides. So it's important for the business organization to think of storytelling. People use brand and marketing, but at the end of the day, that's all about telling a story.
Right. And you've probably heard this. People will do business with people they trust. And if I know a little bit about your story, I'm more likely to trust you, right? And stories are really important and impactful because they influence how we interact. They influence how we move through the world. The stories that we carry. When I meet people at networking events, I don't go, what do you do for work? I go, tell me why you got out of bed this morning. Tell me someone who's important to you and why. I want a piece of that story. I want to connect to them as a human, right? So our stories are really important because they help us in a multitude of ways, not just for ourselves, but then again, collectively. And really, we belong to each other. So we have to stop pretending that our stories aren't individually and collectively important, and then use our stories to get healthier, to break unhealthy cycles, to level up our lives. Right?
Got it. So if there's a business or organization that goes on, interested in learning more, how can they consult with you? Kind of talk, learn a little bit more, say, okay.
So when they go to the website,
Yeah.
www.mariamilagros.net, when they go there, there's a speaking tab. And so they can click on that, and there's a little form that they can fill out. And then once they fill out the form, we'll do a discovery call. Sometimes it's for a keynote. Sometimes it's for a workshop. Sometimes they want me to just come in and kind of gather information about what it is that the group needs. And then from there, we'll build a series, of workshops that is needed. So, but that's the starting point, is from the website.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Maria Milagros from Maria Milagros.
That's right.
It was great to talk with you and kind of learn about the work that you do and how you can help companies storytell, but also have more productive and profitable environment.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.